Hi, everyone. I hope you had an enjoyable weekend. Here is your next recording for when you reach me, either on Monday or Tuesday. Remember, I won't be here on Monday. I'll have a sub, so please, please, please be good and responsible. Follow your checklist, do what you need to do. And then I'll be here Tuesday to check your notes. So make sure if you do listen on Monday, make sure you're taking notes as well. Last thing we heard was Richard was waiting outside the door because he said, seriously, would it kill you to give me a key? All right, let's keep going. It was 1979, a new year, a new decade, almost, but school was still just school. Jay Stringer was still a genius, music assemblies were still boring, and Alice Evans was still too shy to admit when she had to go to the bathroom. The fourth grade's violin performance had only just started, and already Alice was squirming in her seat next to me. Jay was on the other side, somehow reading a book while listening to the world's worst music. I located Sal's blonde head a few rows ahead on my right. I stared at the back of it for a while, trying to see if I could make him turn around with the sheer power of my brain waves, but it was hard to concentrate with Alice doing a Mexican hat dance in her chair. I tried to make a face at Anne-Marie, who was on the other side of Alice, but Anne-Marie seemed fully absorbed by the music. She's extremely non-judgmental that way, so I went back to looking at Sal. Directly in front of me was Julia. She was obviously as bored as I was. Her head kept bobbing around, and then she turned and looked at Anne-Marie. I glanced over and saw that Anne-Marie's eyes were still on the stage. Julia watched Anne-Marie, and I watched Julia watching Anne-Marie. And what I saw were eyes that were 60% cocoa chocolate, a face that was cafe au lait, and an expression that was so familiar it made my whole body ring like a bell. Julia's look was my looking at Sal. And suddenly I knew three things. First, it was Julia who had left the rose for Anne-Marie. Oh, interesting. Second, Julia cared about Anne-Marie, but Anne-Marie didn't see it because I was standing in the way. Third, Alice Evans was about to pee her pants. I turned to Alice. Hey, I said, I have to go to the bathroom. Be my partner? Sometimes you never feel meaner than the moment you stop being mean. It's like how turning on a light makes you realize how dark the room had gotten, and the way you usually act, the things you would have normally done, are like these ghosts that everyone can see but pretends not to. It was like that when I asked Alice Evans to be my bathroom partner, I wasn't one of the girls who tortured her on purpose, but I had never lifted a finger to help her before or even spent 1 minute being nice to her. She stopped squirming and looked at me suspiciously. You have to go? She said. Really? Yeah. And in that moment, I wanted nothing as much as I wanted Alice to feel safe with me. Really. I leaned forward in my seat and waved my arm up and down so that Mr. Tompkin knew to look at me from his seat at the end of the row. I spoke over the laps of Jay Stringer and Colin, who were sitting between us. I have to go to the bathroom. These words felt like some kind of sacrifice, a precious offering to the universe. I didn't know why, but Julia's look had given me this total determination to get Alice Evans to the bathroom before she wet herself. Now, Mr. Tompkin whispered, please. He rolled his eyes. Fine. Mr. Tompkin tilted his knees to one side to let us pass, and Jay Stringer and Colin put their heads together, and then Jay laughed. My mind processed that if Jay was the one who laughed, then Colin was the one who'd made the joke, a joke about me, maybe. I grabbed Alice's hand and pulled her after me, and then we were running up the aisle. Things you beg for. As soon as Alice went to the bathroom, I ran down the hall toward the office. There were so many things I wanted to do but couldn't, like hug my mom or be less jealous of Anne Marie, and I didn't want this to become one of them, but I had to work fast. Miranda? Wheelie looked up at me doubtfully. Aren't you supposed to be in the assembly? Yes, I am in assembly. I was. I am going right back. Alice is in the bathroom. Can I have a piece of paper? No, ma'am. I don't have paper to be just giving away. Please, just a little piece, a corner of a piece. If I didn't do this now, I never would. Wheelie sighed. Then, still in her chair, she kicked her way over to the next desk, where there was one of those pink message pads. She ripped off the top sheet, folded it again, and then carefully ripped the paper along the first fold, and then along the second fold. Hurry, my brain said, hurry. What do you think she's going to do with the paper? Here, she held out a quarter of a pink message slip and looked at me with a face that said, I hope you won't be coming around here looking for another handout anytime soon. I picked up a pen from the counter and scribbled on the little pink square. I thought you left me. Alice was standing in front of the bathroom looking all wounded. Me? I said. No way. She smiled. People seemed to like the new me. We squeezed back into our row past Colin and Jay Stringer, who whispered and laughed again. Anne Marie leaned forward and gave me a where were you shrug. I mouthed, bathroom, and she nodded and settled back again. I folded my pink square a couple of times, then I leaned forward and dropped the note into Julie's lap. I hadn't had much time. It was just one word, truce. And underneath, I had written my phone number. I wonder why she wants to do truce, and why did she say if she didn't write it now, she would never do it again? Things that turn upside down. That afternoon, Sal brought Colin home after school. I saw them up ahead of me, taking turns on Colin's skateboard. One would ride and the other would bounce Sal's basketball. They were circling each other and laughing and racing around, and I wanted to be part of it so much that my head almost broke watching. I decided to stop off at Bell's. Belle picked up the economy jug of chewable vitamin C she kept behind the register and shook it at me. I nodded, and she tipped 4 of them into my hand. What's up? She asked. Not much. Got some time for the story? Sure. Where were we? Aunt Beast. Right, Aunt Beast. So Aunt Beast's planet is perfect. It smells great and the food is wonderful and everything is soft and comfortable, but Meg can't stay there. She has to go back and save her little brother. They left him behind with IT, remember? Belle nodded. She has to go back by herself? Yes, she's the only one who can do it because she's closer to her brother than anyone. It has to be her. Belle nodded. So she goes back there to Comatose, and her brother is totally under IT's control, and he's saying all these awful things to her, and IT is trying to suck her into to take over her brain. She's trying to resist, but it's hard. And then at the last second, she figures out that there's only one thing that can defeat IT, love. IT doesn't understand love. Ooh, Belle said. That's deep. So Meg stands there and thinks about how much she loves her brother, her real brother, not the IT brother who is standing there with his mouth hanging open and his eyes twirling. She starts yelling over and over that she loves him, and poof, he becomes himself again. That's how she saves him. It turns out to be real simple. Belle surprised me. Well, it's simple to love someone, she said, but it's hard to know when you need to say it out loud. For some reason, that made me want to cry. Anyway, I said, then they're suddenly back home. They land in the vegetable garden outside their house in the broccoli. That's the end. Of course, I couldn't help thinking of what Marcus had said about how if they had gotten home 5 minutes before they left, they would have seen themselves get back home before they even knew they were going. But it was better not to drag Belle into all that. What's the name of this writer again? I spelled it out for her. Belle had to ring up a few kids buying their after-school junk food, so I wandered around the store. I was thinking I would swipe a few grapes, but they looked old and soft. I took a bottle of chocolate milk out of the refrigerator, checked the date on it, and brought it up to the register with a $5 bill I had taken from Mom's coat pocket that morning. Weirdest thing, Belle said, taking my 5. You see the guy over there? She pointed through her front window and across the street to where the laughing man was pacing back and forth on my corner, doing his kicks. Yeah? Well, check this out. She lifted the plastic tray out of the register drawer, and I looked in. It was full of $2 bills, wavy, bent-looking $2 bills. Oh, where do we know $2 bills from? A couple weeks ago, that guy out there suddenly starts coming in every day to get a butter on white and a banana. And he always pays with these $2 bills. I was staring into the drawer. You want a couple for your change? Belle asked. I nodded, and she handed them to me. Sorry, she said, smoothing them out. They're crumpled. He gives them to me all folded up into triangles. If you can believe it, the first time I didn't even think it was real money. I started telling the guy to get lost. My brain was doing that thing where it yells at me. It was yelling. The laughing man stole Jimmy's Fred Flintstone bank? The laughing man? The guy is loony, Belle said thoughtfully, but also generally polite. Polite is always worth something. When I walked by him a minute later, the laughing man was shaking his fist at the sky and kicking his legs out into traffic, rushing up Amsterdam Avenue. A few cars honked at him. When he saw me, he pointed and yelled, Smart kid, smart kid. I popped my last 2 vitamin C's and imagined the wrapped in a blanket feeling that I'd had when Mom was with me. Then I calmly walked by the laughing man thinking, yeah, really polite. Colin and Sal were in the lobby making a total racket with the skateboard and the basketball so that any second Miss Bindocker would probably come charging out of her apartment yelling that they were scaring her cat. Hey, Colin said when he saw me, I thought you lived in this building. Want to skate a little? He picked up his skateboard and held it out to me. I glanced at Sal, who was concentrating on his basketball like the whole concept of bouncing had just been invented and was really very amazing and deserving of attention. He had developed a way of waving at me without making eye contact. It was kind of like a no-look pass. No thanks, I said. I have to go. But Colin is Colin. If you can read a vibe, he never lets on. Can I see your place? He said. We're shooting baskets in the back. Have you been back there? It's cool. Want to come hang out? I told Colin that my mother was sick upstairs and that I was just rushing home from the store. You got her chocolate milk? He asked, pointing at the bottle in my hand. Yeah, I nodded from the stairs. She loves it. And I sprinted up to the second floor before he could say anything else. When I unlocked our door, the apartment felt like a warm hug. The refrigerator was humming, the light was streaming through the living room windows, and the voice in my head said, safe, and then got quiet. I went to the kitchen, opened my chocolate milk, and took the last bag of Lay's. Those pregnant jailbirds were out of luck. Then the phone rang. Hello? Have I reached the Sinclair residence? May I please speak with Miranda? I rolled my eyes. Hi, Julia, I said. It's me. That first time, we only talked for 5 minutes. Julia said her mom had a recipe for a flourless cake we could make for Anne-Marie's birthday. Without knowing whether I really wanted to, I agreed to go over and make a practice cake with her after school the next day. It was dark outside when there was a tap at the door. I sat up on the couch. A tap on the door was a strange thing. Everyone rings our doorbell except for Louisa, who always knocks her regular knock. I was afraid your notes had done that to me. Another tap. Hello? I called. Silence. I got up and looked through the peephole. Colin stood there, holding a skateboard in front of him like a shield, looking not exactly like himself. I opened the door. What's wrong? He took 2 steps forward and kind of hovered right in front of me for a second, and then he kissed me. And then he stopped, and I waited, and then I kissed him back. He smiled and ran down the stairs. There are days when everything changes, and this was one of those days. All right, and we are going to end there for today. So make sure to take notes and be good for the sub. Please, please, please. Bye, guys. Have a great day. I will see you Tuesday.